didn't have to go down the rabbit hole with all these individuals, all the, Wells Fargo, which probably had already set up 10 other bank accounts without me knowing.
Yeah, very true, buddy.
Shout out.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Wells Fargo.
Yeah, not going to be one of our sponsors.
Yeah.
Man, the myth, the legend.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Mark,
Hey,
welcome.
what's your name again?
Armando.
Hey, nice to meet you, buddy.
Yeah.
It's I wouldn't say I was gonna say it's a pleasure, but that would be a total lie. And since I don't know you, I don't want to lie to you. So
Would be nice, I don't like liars.
you don't?
Funny story about Armando, actually.
You know Armando?
Yeah. Oh, it's like an alter ego of myself. I was down to travel around South America for 3 months. And first couple days I was there, they were asking me my name, Tome, ¿Cómo te llamas?
And you forgot your name.
And I would say Adam, and they'd say Adam. It's not a common name there. So eventually we just became, me llamo Armando. And it was just kind of this, it just really rolled off the tongue, almost like an alter ego of myself. And for the rest of that trip, and still to this day, clearly, because I'm introducing myself as Armando.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was Armando.
Is he a good person or not?
Oh, he's a wonderful person.
Is he?
He's the best character you'd ever want. So you go lucky, great dancer.
Says who?
I think, pretty much everybody
Says Adam?
Or, yeah. You ever seen The Bernie?
No.
Oh, I'll show you sometime.
How about you show everybody right now? We have tens of watchers right now. Listeners. We're live streaming, by the way, and we have lots of people.
Yeah.
No, actually, no, we're not live streaming. I don't know how to do that.
Maybe play a jam,
We could. Yeah, we just shut off the music.
Oh, okay.
Mistake, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. You messed that up.
Another time and place.
Absolutely. So Armando, topic of the day is lending.
Okay.
Super exciting, right? Talking banks and finances, and so we thought we would drop this about what is the biggest benefits or differences, I should say, between working with a national bank on lending, national banks like a Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, versus working with local, more regional banks that are within the states that you're investing in. So this one is going to be episode's going to be directed more towards you since you have experience on both sides. For me, I've always been kind of a local bank type of guy. Growing up, my dad, real estate developer, got financing from local banks, Wahoo, Nebraska. It was literally a handshake type deal, and they would give him, at least on my head, they'd give him millions of dollars. And I think it was in reality where he had projects lined up, developments lined up. It's like, hey, yeah, we'll fund that, and we'll get around to the paperwork. We'll get paperwork signed for sure, but handshake type of deal. So that was always my experience growing up was, hey, local banks, that's the way to go, the relationships, versus you coming in was more from a national bank perspective. And then the more we got involved together, you start to realize the other side of working with a local bank. So we are going to be asking you some questions today, buddy. You ready?
Hey, bring it on, my friend.
Are you nervous?
Bring it on.
We got a lot of people watching right now.
Yeah, no.
Nervous?
Oh, hey there.
Okay, so to start off with, in your experience, what's been some of the differences in requirements on financing investment properties when it comes to a local bank versus a national bank? And again, when we say local bank, maybe kind of express or define that a little bit more.
Sure, yeah. And you're right, up until working with you, I was working with, kind of the bigger banks, right? You end up, I think naturally you're just looking for a loan, you find good rates. Oftentimes that's kind of through those bigger banks.
You're rate shopping.
Yeah, you're rate shopping, 100%. And you laughed at me. And it's like, hey, bozo, there's a whole new world out there.
I was laughing because you're goofy looking.
Oh.
Yeah, and then I was laughing because your bad decisions.
So I think, for starters, it's a breakdown of primary residence versus investment. So there are different requirements between primary and investment. You'll get set through the ringer on pretty much all lending on your primary house these days. Maybe 2007, 2008, you could get no income loans. They were handing out with pieces of paper, right? You say, oh, I make this much and here's a loan, and then
I was giving those loans out as a mortgage broker back in the day, and
so you caused the crash.
It was pretty much me. Yeah, me and a couple buddies caused a national crash, which was really interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, we call them no doc loans.
Yeah.
You filled out application, and whatever you put on the application, we took your word for it. And when I say we took your word for it, because we're brokers, we just found a lender that would fund the loan. So that lender took your word for it, and that was it. They'd give you hundreds of thousands of dollars based on what you said on the app and didn't verify anything.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is, again, where it's fundamentally different. You know, we talk about, oh, there's recession coming, or we are in a recession now at this point, but fundamentally loans are different. They're validating more things like that.
Yeah.
So I don't see that there's going to be a crash like we saw in 2008. But anyway, so back to the point of primary versus investment was really that we're going to talk more on the investment piece. So, and then specific to investment, local versus national banks. So my experience with places like B of A and Wells Fargo, and I'm getting, loan through them, and they ask for everything. I mean, it is everything under the sun, all the documentation. It's a full-time job to get all of this in place. I mean, they're asking everything from what feels like, your mom's dog walker's sister's information sort of thing. That's like, man, what do you care that about? But so you just get through the ringer, and he was laughing at me one of the days because I'm complaining to him, bitching about, all these things that I have to provide, or why do they care? Why does it matter? Or whatever. If I have the money, then, I should be able to get the loan. And so, going through all of these, and then on the flip side, when we go to buy our first investment property, work through a local bank, and we got a loan from submitting our personal financial statements, which is essentially an Excel sheet of all your data, all your information. And they look at that and say, okay, you're approved for $1 million at that point.
Let's pause really quick. I think it's need to take a second and reiterate the personal financial statement is super important to have and stay on top of, because again, working with local banks like you're just going into, that's the main document that they look at. They'll ask for sometimes other financials depending on what they're seeing, but a personal financial document from the get-go is something that any bank kind of period is going to require, but especially local banks. So if you can proactively get one created and stay on top of it, I think in the long run that will save you a ton of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's kind of universal. You have a standard template that you continue to utilize with these local banks, and they accept that and then move forward, right? So that whole process in general, to fill out an Excel sheet and submit, and they say, okay, you're approved for $1 million, was mind-blowing to me. Just the fact that didn't have to go down the rabbit hole with all these individuals, all the, Wells Fargo, which probably had already set up 10 other bank accounts without me knowing.
Very true, buddy.
Shout out.
Yeah. Thank you, Wells Fargo.
Yeah, not going to be one of our sponsors. So, that whole process in general. So, item number one of just efficiency and effectiveness of getting a loan was a huge burden off our backs. I mean, that was amazing. And then, not only they're looking at us as lending to us, but the other big piece of that's important is they're looking at how we're underwriting the deal, what we see with the property. They're underwriting the deal itself, looking at the property as a business.
Yeah, if they want to take it back, and if they did take it back, they'd be comfortable knowing that they could sell it and get their money back and usually make a little bit of money. But yeah, they're definitely looking for the right deals and the right operators. They're doing make sense stuff.
Yeah.
Versus big banks that are just following a 20-page guideline checklist of shit that they got to check off. There's been so many times, like even back in the days when I was doing lending, where deals made sense. These people are buying properties for significantly below market. killer income, things like that. But because out of this 50-point checklist, they couldn't check off 2 little boxes, they couldn't get a loan, and it made 0 sense. So working with local banks, you definitely have that flexibility of, as long as you know what you're doing and you can prove that and the deal makes sense. That's the 2 main things that these guys look for, and they're not just looking to check off boxes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it becomes back to that relationship lending. In the end, are Mark and Adam going to default on us? I mean, really, that's the question that they have. They get into something called a loan committee, which could be as small as, I've seen it as 3 people.
3 people, yeah.
And it could be larger, but I haven't seen it larger than 5, 6 people sort of thing. It's a small group, usually the executives of a small branch at a local bank, and they all get together on a weekly basis, look at deals and say yay, nay.
And that's literally it.
That's it. That's the decision. It's made. It's right there, and there you go.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously what we had talked about before, when you have the bigger banks, or they're selling off into Fannie Freddie sort of style, you're going to go through more of that sort of style of hard requirements, all these check boxes, all these details.
Yeah. I think when you first got a loan through a local bank, or we first got a loan, or I got a loan with you through a local bank, I think it was, and you said it to me, really eye-opening for you, that it's not about rate shopping. You always want to be cautious about rate, cost, all that stuff. That's definitely goes into deals, but relationships far outweigh rates and fees.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Because the doors that it can open, if you think about it, if you have that lending partner, pieces of the puzzle within real estate in general, lending is a huge piece of that. So if they're starting to open doors and become more lenient on terms, moving from 25% down all the way down to 10% down to something called guidance line that you'll touch on in a little bit here, but that is just opening up the room of exploration, really, the room for growth, room for scaling. And so we've tapped into these local banks. One of the big pivotal pieces of it is things like lines of credit. So, we'll close on a property, we'll rehab, and then we'll refinance, and either we'll pull all cash out at that point, or we'll open a line of credit against it that we can tap into the equity of the property. And then from that, we can decide, okay, I'll tap into that line of credit and go buy another property. But the beauty of the line of credit is that you're not paying interest, you're not taking it all at once and then waiting for the time to utilize it. You have the equity there that you can tap into.
Yeah.
And then when you find that deal, you can act immediately.
Yeah.
And
game changer.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
And you had described it early on, actually, in real estate investing, was this idea of building a moat. So, you have your castle, and you want a moat around you to be able to protect it. And that, to me, is kind of the lines of credit. You want access to cash, but you don't want to be sitting on $100K, $200K, $1 million, whatever that is, because you want to go leverage it. But having that, if something, a rainy day that pops up, or new investment opportunity.
Absolutely.
You happen to have an addiction for buying rent.
Yeah.
So
it's bad.
Yeah.
It's good though.
Yeah. It is. It's always exciting, but it's an addiction. So, having that access to it that you don't see as often in national banks. They will offer you lines of credit, but you go through more challenges, more difficulties. Some will even enforce that you provide receipts and what you want to do, and it's only related to that property that they want you to utilize the line of credit.
Yeah.
Whereas local banks are saying, okay, that's your line of credit. It's tapping into the equity. You can use it how you want.
Yeah.
And we happen to want to maybe go buy it on the property.
Yeah. Right? And big banks, dude, you're just a number with those guys. They don't care about the relationship. They don't care that you've been with them for 10 years and you have all your bank accounts with them, things like that. They honestly, they don't care. Again, they're going off that checklist that as long as you can check these boxes off, you can get financing versus local banks. It's really relationship. It's like, oh yeah, you have been with us for 10 years. you've made all your loan payments on time, you do have additional deposit accounts with us. So yeah, we're willing to go out and give you lines of credits and guidance lines and whatnot to really help you facilitate buying more properties. Because at the end of the day, with these local banks, a lot of local banks out there depend on the region of the United States you're in. Like, for example, in Nebraska, a lot of small banks have agricultural money. A lot of rural communities, a lot of farmers putting money into the banks, and these banks are actively looking for good operators, people that know what they're doing. They have confidence in giving loans out, knowing that you're going to perform. So yeah, a big thing is tapping into these banks that are hungry to lend money out. They need to. They have a lot of deposits, and whole point of being a bank is getting deposits in and lending money out and making that little arbitrage.
Yeah, they gotta exercise that cash somewhere.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
they take that in. What are they gonna do with it?
Yeah.
And smaller banks, where are they gonna go utilize that cash? They do go back into agriculture, things like that, but they also want to diversify.
Absolutely,
They don't want to
yeah.
be stuck in a specific market.